met in the regular season here at Riverfront Stadium, and it was a terrific game. Into overtime, tied at 24, when Jim Breach in the white uniform of the Cincinnati Bengals kicked a 28-yard field goal, and the Bengals won it 27-24. NBC Sports presents the best of the National Football League, the American Football Conference Divisional Playoff game. Today from Riverfront Stadium, it's the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals. Today's game is brought to you by the New Chrysler Corporation for A sellout of 59,000 as Jim Breach has it teed up for the Cincinnati Bengals. Buffalo will receive the opening kickoff. Chuck Knox, the NFL Coach of the Year last year with Buffalo. AFC Coach of the Year this season, Forrest Gregg of Cincinnati. The winner will play San Diego next Sunday, and this Bengals crowd on its feet. Will take it on a bounce. It goes out of bounds. 5-yard penalty. As Breach skidded one down the left sidelines, and they'll have to do it over.
You get a feeling very quickly for what we call home field advantage. This is a very noisy stadium and a noisy crowd. It will be difficult for Buffalo to hear their signals today, and feeding off the emotion of this crowd should be a big advantage for the Bengals.
They added the stripes to the Bengal uniforms, and with it came great success this year. But you could feel at the end of the 1980 year that Forrest Gregg had something very good building here in Cincinnati, and proved it this year with his 12-4 record. They've had 2 weeks to prepare. You talked about the home field advantage, the crowd, Merlin. How about the field itself?
This is an unusual field, a very inconsistent field, and we'll talk about the areas of the field that are dangerous, but part of it is very slick, and part of it has good feeling. Of course, the Bengals know where the slick places are. They'll take advantage of that.
From the 30-yard line, it's to Riddick's side at the 6. 20. Flags go down as Riddick crosses the 25-yard line. Number 59, Jeff Shue, one of the first men downfield for Cincinnati. And Guy Frazier there as well, and a penalty opens the game for Buffalo. Oh, you can just feel the intensity, not just in the crowd, electric, but the players themselves on that opening kickoff. Joe Ferguson, the quarterback, will start deep in his own end. Joe Cribbs, you'll see the Pro Bowl players, those honored by the men, the coaches, and players around the league in white. Cribbs in the Pro Bowl, Leaks the fullback. Butler, Frank Lewis, a great season. His best ever is in the Pro Bowl. Tight end, young Mark Bramer. The line, Jones, Lynch is starting for Conrad Dobler, Will Grant, John Borkart, and Joe Devlin.
That offensive line, the fewest sacks on a quarterback in the NFL this year, Dick.
16 times is all that Ferguson hit the carpet this year. From the 17-yard line, Buffalo's first play from scrimmage. Cribbs for about 4. Reggie Williams and Ross Browner teamed up on the tackle. Defensively for the black-jerseyed Bengals. Burley, Whitley, and Browner. Burley starting for Eddie Edwards, who's been injured. Bo Harris, Jim LeClaire. LeClaire, the leading tackler. Glenn Cameron and Reggie Williams, who leads the team in sacks from the linebacker position. That'll tell you something. Breeden, who had a 102-yard interception for a touchdown earlier this year. The veteran Riley with Kemp and Hicks, 2 young safety men. Leaks doesn't get much at all. Bring up 3rd down for Buffalo.
Eddie Edwards getting into the ball game, Dick. I know they were worried about his knee, but he is starting in there, and they're hoping he'll give them a little bit of pressure, a little extra pressure 2 extra tackles into the game. St. Clair and Burley, they've taken out a linebacker and 1 defensive lineman. They want to get a squeeze now on Joe Ferguson.
Ball at the 23-yard line. 3rd down, and call it a long 4. Out of the shotgun for the first time. That's Lewis, the veteran, in motion. Open, and Butler can't hang on. Louis Breeden made the defensive play, and the Bengal fans are on their feet again.
A wide open blitz on Joe Ferguson. He reads the blitz and throws the quick slant. The ball just ahead of Lewis, and watch it, it just about bounced up into Louis Breeden's hands.
Butler, a juggling try for that reception, but Breeden there to knock it away. 10 men on the line of scrimmage for Cincinnati. Mike Fuller, former San Diego Charger, back at the Cincinnati 37. Greg Cater averaged 39.7 this year. It's a beauty.
Good hang time.
Hangs it high to the 31. Fuller, 40, 45, 50. He is to the 42. A 46-yard kick, a 26-yard return by Mike Fuller, who holds all the Charger punt return records. And Cincinnati opens in great field position.
Had it not been for injuries, this man might well be in the lead in the NFL for punt returns. Very smart. Does not have great speed, but is a crafty runner, and he's pumped. He gets him in good field position.
Greg Cater, number 7, got a piece of the jersey to slow up Fuller and finally help out with the tackle. Anderson, number 1 quarterback in the NFL, to Johnson, the fullback. He's the 35 to the 32. Let's go back to the punt return, and Cater, after his kick, helping out on the tackle.
Cater, a good athlete, voted the #1 player on the special teams for Buffalo this year. If he doesn't make that play, they got problems.
Mark it at the 33-yard line. It's 2nd and 1. Johnson getting 9 yards on the swing pass. Anderson had the best percentage in the league this year, 62%, and the lowest interception percentage, only 10 interceptions. Charles Alexander from LSU has a first down. Ken Anderson, the quarterback. Charles Alexander, Pete Johnson, the running backs. Anderson in the Pro Bowl with his great year, the best ever for him. The rookie from Florida, Chris Collinsworth, he's in the Pro Bowl. Veteran Isaac Curtis. Dan Ross, 71 catches, 3rd best in the AFC. He's one of the best kept secrets in the league. Munoz, the sophomore tackle from USC, is in the Pro Bowl. Blair Bush is the guard. Lapham and Montoya are the guards. Bush is the center. Munoz and Wilson at tackle. Anderson, plenty of time. Open is Ross at the 15-yard line. And Anderson is down as he was hit by Sanford as he threw the ball. That picture could be the most important one of this game for Cincinnati.
Cincinnati's edge is laying on the ground right now. Anderson's consistency and his running ability have given him and these Bengals the outstanding year that they've had offensively. He takes a hard shot from Lucius Sanford there. They're checking him out, and one of his weaknesses over the years is that he has been susceptible to injury.
As they work on the quarterback of the Bengals, we take our first break. Cincinnati has the ball at the Buffalo 15. Lines, it was his stomach. He seems to be okay, left under his own power. The throwing Samoan, number 12, Jack Thompson, very popular here in Cincinnati, takes over at the Buffalo 15. No score. Alexander, he gets 6 yards to the 9. Bill Simpson from the safety, the veteran from Michigan State, made the tackle. Here comes Anderson back on the field.
One of the things that makes Kenny Anderson so tough, Dick, is his ability to run with that football as well as throw it. He's the 2nd leading rusher on this team.
Over 300 yards rushing this year. Plus those great statistics, 62%, 29 touchdowns, only 10 interceptions. Pete Johnson, and the Bills were waiting for him. He's cut down shy of the first down. Outside the 5-yard line. Little Jim Breach, maybe the smallest man, or at least one of the smallest in the entire NFL at 5'6", 160 pounds. Ben Williams, Fred Smerlas, the nose tackle, he's in the Pro Bowl. Sherman White on the front three. Sanford, Haslett, Villapiano, and Robertson, a physical group of linebackers. Mario Clark and Charles Romes. He had the big play against the Jets last week. Romes did. Freeman, the leading tackler, and Simpson, who has 9 playoff interceptions, tied for the NFL record. 2 tight ends in there, Ross and Harris. 3rd down and 1. Johnson pulling his way. He's got the first down, I believe. Looked as if he got to the 4-yard line. He is a load, 249 pounds, Pete Johnson.
They list Pete Johnson at just over 250. He's pushing 260 this time of the year, and he uses all of that strength, especially the power in his legs, to just keep moving and keep that stack moving till he got the first down.
1st and goal inside the 5-yard line at the Buffalo 4. 9 minutes left in the first quarter. It's Alexander to the goal line. Touchdown! Riverfront Stadium is rocking as Cincinnati scores first.
If you look at the record of the playoffs these past few weeks, sometimes scoring first doesn't mean you're necessarily going to win the game, but it's certainly an advantage to get off to a good start, to drive the ball down the field, and to climax it with a touchdown.
Breaks to try the point after. Kreider will hold. Ooh, a little high on the snap, but Breach knocks it through. Timeout. 8:56 remaining. Cincinnati has 7.
Hard to cue on everybody. Good job of getting it into the end zone.
Leaning the ball in for 7. Hold that Tiger. That's the assignment for the Bills today.
Well, they're going to have their hands full out there. They didn't hold him on the first drive. Let's see what they can do when they get the football themselves here. Breach to kick it away.
Riddick on the far side, Brown on the near side. Riddick at the 6. And he crosses the 20 to the 23-yard line. Let's go back to the touchdown. They were keying on Johnson, and Alexander got the hole.
Little fake over to Johnson. Alexander cutting back against the grain. Goes underneath a diving effort there by Sherman White. Just powered his way, just barely breaking the plane of that goal line with the football.
Alexander scored only 2 touchdowns the entire regular season, while Pete Johnson on the ground had 12. So understandably, Buffalo was looking for Johnson inside the 5. Ferguson to throw. Open is Bramer, but it's thrown behind him. The tight end Bramer from Michigan State in his 2nd year. He had a good season, 33 catches. Chuck Knox, 49 years of age, 5 years as the head coach of the Rams, 5 years the Rams were in the playoffs. He's brought winning to Buffalo and pride to that city.
He certainly changed their attitude, changed their philosophy about the game, brought some life back to that franchise. Fine head coach, man to look you right in the eye and talk to you.
Ferguson set Buffalo records this year, completions and yardage. One shy of his touchdown record. He had 24. Big hole for Krebs, and he breaks out to the 35-yard line. Brian Hicks from McNeese State up from the safety to cut him down, but not until Krebs had rolled for 12.
Dick, I asked Kay Stevenson, offensive coordinator for Chuck Knox, how do you attack this defense? He said it's pretty hard because they're doing so many different things. Hank Bulla has just done a great job of revamping this defense for the Bengals, but obviously they're able to take advantage of them at the quick pop right there from Joe Krebs.
Rod Horn, number 71, replacing Wilson Whitley at that nose guard position for Cincinnati. First down, Buffalo at the 35. Cribbs again. For a couple. 53, Bo Harris, and 55, LeClaire. A couple of Bengal linebackers on the stop of Cribbs, who played his college football at Auburn. Had another good day and a consistent season for Cribbs against the Jets last week.
You're going to beat this Bengal defense. You have to be able to neutralize their linebackers. Their 4 top tacklers are the 4 linebackers. They've been together about 3 years now. They play extremely well as a unit.
3 yards for Cribbs on first down, 2nd and 7. Incomplete to Frank Lewis, covered by Lewis Breeden. And Lewis slow getting up. Lewis was 70 catches this year, the 34-year-old wide receiver out of Grambling.
Ferguson, with plenty of time to throw this football, will show you what a powerful arm he has. He just rifled that ball in. But Lewis bobbled it momentarily because it was overthrown, and then Breeden just stripped him after he touched it for the first time. There's no chance to go back after the football. Good defensive play.
Those numbers on Lewis, 1,244 yards. That tied Steve Watson for the yardage lead, the fine young receiver of Denver. 3rd down, 7, 5 defensive backs for the Bengals. Intercepted. Ken Riley at the 48-yard line.
There was a mix-up on the pattern. Ferguson can't believe it. 2 of his receivers came right together in the same area, and that brought the defenders right in there. You see Ferguson saying, what the heck is going on here? Cribbs was one of the receivers. I think maybe Lewis the other one on that side. But watch this. The 2 receivers will be side by side. Look at them right there. The pass thrown right into the hands of Ken Riley.
The top pass interceptor in Cincinnati history. Riley gets a big one in the playoffs. Don't tell Ken Riley or talk to him about superstition. Number 13 in his 13th year is having another big season. Ken Anderson, his team in front 7-0, takes over once again on the Buffalo half of the field at the Bills 48. Ross, 39-yard line, 9 yards to Ross. Make that the 34, and that is 14 yards and a first down.
Ken Anderson needs time to throw that football. One of the reasons he has time is because of big Anthony Munoz. Anthony, one of the great athletes in the NFL. Tremendous ability, and he's assigned to keep Sherman White off the back of his quarterback today. Did an expert job of it on that last play.
Dan Ross with 2 catches, both for 14 yards. First down at the 34. Johnson, a big hole, and he rumbles to the 25-yard line. 9 more yards. Lucius Sanford made the tackle. Well, you talked earlier, Merlin Olsen, about protecting the quarterback. That would be the key, and thus far it appears both lines are going to give their men behind center plenty of time to throw.
Not always a measure of sacks, though, Dick, and that's the way we usually think about it, but it's the amount of time he has back there. You can get up into his face. Often hurrying a quarterback is better than sacking him. You can force him to make a mistake.
7-0, Cincinnati leads, and they have the ball deep in Buffalo territory. Johnson trying to power his way for a yard and a first down. It'll be close. Sherman White, who was a #1 draft pick of Cincinnati back in '72, number 83 White, made the tackle.
We talked about Anthony Munoz as a pass blocker. Let's watch him as a run blocker. Off quickly, trying to get Sherman White to the outside, doing a good job of using those big mitts as well. But White able to kind of neutralize things on the line of scrimmage, but not until they'd gotten down very close to that first down. 3rd and short. Got the big fellas in the game to see if they can't stop them here, Dick. Very important down for this Buffalo defense.
3rd down, about a foot. M.L. Harris, 83, and Dan Ross, 89. The 2 tight ends. That's Ross in motion. Alexander doesn't make it. And a second effort, he does. Charles Alexander, the touchdown maker, was stopped a yard behind the line of scrimmage, but picks up the first down.
What a great second effort here. Good job of sticking him in the backfield by Villapiano, but Villapiano didn't wrap him up. And of course, Alexander able to get that first down. That's a critical play early in this game.
That would have forced Cincinnati to try a fairly long field goal. First down at the 23. Looking for Collinsworth. Oh, is he hit? Number 77, Ben Williams, who had 10.5 sacks this year, drilling Anderson. He came through as if someone shot him into the backfield.
A very embarrassing moment for the offensive lineman when their man wraps up that quarterback. Williams just taking a hard inside, getting by Mike Wilson, also wearing 77, and plows right over the top of Ken Anderson. Anderson adroit at avoiding that kind of play. He didn't have a chance there.
Even in slow motion, Williams was there quickly.
He was flying.
At the 30-yard line, Kreider, a third wide receiver, comes in, number 86. So it's Curtis, Kreider, and Collinsworth. Open. Isaac Curtis, first and goal at the 8.
Dick, I talked about the field. It's the right-hand corner of this field where they're operating now that is so slick. And Isaac Curtis drones off, or drives Mario Clark. Now watch Clark. Clark's going to slip right there. He uses the field to his advantage, gets up and takes the ball. Now that's what you call home field advantage. He knew he could get that man to slip down there in that corner of the end zone. And they take advantage of him right here. Big, big play.
And we talked about that with the Steelers at Three Rivers Stadium and how Swan and Stallworth used the frozen parts of the field there to make their cuts and put the pressure on the defense. It's first and goal at the 8. Alexander, he is in again. Or is it? Now they're going to mark it at the foot line. What a second and third effort by Charles Alexander.
Obviously, one of the things that the Bengals have done is to examine themselves during the week they had off and say, what are the tendencies that we have laid out over the season? And they've made a lot of changes. Instead of going to Pete Johnson here, they've gone consistently to Alexander, and that has really paid off for them as Alexander is performing extremely well, right down to the 1-foot line.
Well, he's playing like those Bengals stripes, a tiger with his second and third efforts. On the 1-foot line. Johnson, touchdown. Pete Johnson, the leading scorer in Big Ten history, scored 58 touchdowns while at Ohio State. And as a pro, counting his 16 this year, he has another 47 in 5 years with the Bengals.
Just like handing the ball to a Caterpillar tractor. What a powerful fullback, almost a guard playing back there in the backfield. Tremendous strength and great speed quickness as well.
Jim Breach, point after. And it's 14-0. Well, last week, Buffalo moved in front 24-0 over the Jets. Last night, San Diego led 24-0. You really can say a big lead hasn't been that big an advantage thus far. 14 for the Bengals. And Ken Anderson Airlines is on schedule, 4 for 4 in this first quarter. And Cincinnati leads 14-0. Jim Breach to kick it off. Riddick far side, Brown near side for Buffalo. Good kick. Riddick 1 yard deep. 10. Falls down at the 15-yard line. Tom Dinkle, 52, to secure the tackle. 15-yard return.
Few players on the field only get a chance to get their name mentioned when they're on special teams. Let's watch Tom Dinkle all the way down on the field. 52, backup linebacker, first man down there, and he just dives in there and mixes everything up. Great job on special teams.
Oh, Buffalo starting deep in its own end again at the 15. Lewis to the left, Butler to the right. ribs. A couple yards at best. Wilson Whitley, nose yard from Houston, made the tackle.
Buffalo is a patient team. Knox, a conservative coach by nature. He's not going to come back and try and throw the ball deep on his first shot. He's going to try and walk down the field, get a touchdown, use the strength of this team, which has been their consistent approach to the game. Chuck Knox is also really concerned about turnovers. Ferguson's already had one in this game and it hurt him badly.
You saw Max Montoya of Cincinnati getting his ankle wrapped. Not a serious injury, just a retape. Roosevelt leaks for 2 more, and it'll be 3rd down and 6 for Buffalo. Jim LeClaire made the tackle. While Anderson is 4 for 4, Joe Ferguson of Buffalo in a passing situation is 0 for 4.
Ferguson is a streak passer. Anderson you would characterize as a very consistent passer, but when Joe Ferguson gets hot, he gets very hot. He's not hot right now. He better get hot pretty quickly.
Mike St. Clair and Gary Burley join Edwards and Browner, 4 defensive linemen and 5 defensive backs. 3rd and 6. Incomplete. Roland Hooks right through his hands. Good throw by Ferguson. Bobby Kemp on the coverage. And the kicking teams come on, and the fans go to their feet.
Ferguson getting that ball off, getting away from the rush, doing a good job of getting the ball on target. But Roland Hooks, who's suffering with some rib problems, couldn't keep his concentration on the football, and it bounced away from him.
Cater and Fuller, who returned it 27 yards the first punt.
Another good kick.
Fuller fair catch this time at the 41 of the Bengals. So for the first time, Cincinnati will have to start a series on their half of the 50. It was a 40-yard punt. 14-0 Bengals late first quarter. Preceding announcement furnished by the National Football League. Look at that field position on Cincinnati's first 3 tries.
As opposed to that, the Bills have started on their own 17, the 23, and the 15. That's playing a lot of yardage before they even get up to where the Bengals have started their drive.
Like Tampa Bay at Dallas yesterday, where Dallas had all the good field position. Anderson open again is Ross, and he is to the Cincinnati or the Buffalo 41. Well, it didn't take Anderson long to get the ball in Buffalo territory. Ross, as we said, so few people recognize the talent of this 3rd-year receiver out of Little Northeastern. 71 catches. That was 3rd best in the AFC behind Winslow and Largent of Seattle.
And he's a good blocker, and he's a good team player. He's a well-kept secret, but not here in Bengal country. They know what he can do.
First down after an 18-yard pass at the 42. 2 tight ends in for Cincinnati, Harris and Ross. And Pete Johnson. You can see you can't tackle him high. You've got to get down around those ankles to drop him. Isaiah Robertson made the play, but not until Johnson had driven to the 33-yard line. And that is the end of the first quarter in Cincinnati. The Bengals 14, the Bills nothing. Blinking 0, symbolic of the first quarter score also. Nothing for the Bills and 14 for the Bengals.
That tells the whole story right there. Bengals dominating the first quarter of play.
Anderson, the quarterback, 5 for 5 passing, 77 yards, and the 1 sack of the -7. Pete Johnson, first down at the Bills' 30-yard line. We open the second quarter. Cincinnati leading 14-0. A punt return by Mike Fuller of 27 yards set up the first score. Alexander capping a short drive of 42 yards with a 4-yard run. And then after Ken Riley, the veteran cornerback, intercepted Ferguson at the Bills' 48. Another quick drive to score, and Pete Johnson with the honors a 1-yard score. Miami points allowed. Buffalo second. Jets third. Buffalo is down 14-0 already. There's a good solid hit on Johnson. You don't stop him very often at the line of scrimmage. Sherman White and others there for Buffalo. Isaiah Robertson got a piece of it.
Robertson gets a piece, but I think there were a couple of other big linemen right there at the same time. Let's see who it was that finally got in there to stop him. I believe it was Smurless. No, it wasn't either. Haslett, number 55, the first shot in there. Sherman White, 83, and Isaiah Robertson, 58, all a part of that tackling group. But Buffalo has got to shut down Cincinnati's offense.
Second down, long 9, gained about a half a yard. Anderson, plenty of time. Wide open is Alexander. And he drags the tackler to the 20-yard line. Steve Freeman was pulled by Alexander until number 40, Alexander, had a first down.
Coach Infante certainly mixing his calls well in there. Ken Anderson reads defenses so quickly. Right there, looking downfield, can't find anybody, zips it right to the numbers. Powerful throw, and watch the extra effort here. All kinds of extra effort from these Bengals, and it's paying off.
First down at the 20. Cincinnati leading 14-0 early in the second quarter. He eludes Williams and finally goes down at the 18-yard line. A gain of 2. And Anderson, despite those 32-year-old legs of his, has had a banner year not only with his arm. He has run for over 300 yards, best of any NFL quarterback.
We talked about the ability of Ken Anderson to avoid the rush. Big Ben Williams, 77, goes right by him. But watch Anderson here as he finally decides it's best to get on the ground. We saw him get hurt a couple of times out in San Diego running the football. The Bengals don't want to see that here today.
2nd and 8. There's the note, 318 yards rushing for Anderson. And then just running away with a passing title. Incomplete. He had Collinsworth open at the 7-yard line, but didn't have time to totally locate him because Buffalo had pressure on Anderson, and I believe they're going to call Buffalo for roughing the passer.
They're calling Isaiah Robertson for taking a little extra shot at Ken Anderson. Watch it right here. He'll get the ball off, but he takes the shot to the head and the arm, and you cannot do that in the NFL anymore. Protecting the quarterbacks as they should from a shot to the throwing arm or to the head, and Isaiah Robertson is having a fit on the field, but it's not going to help. They'll march it off anyway.
All the way to the 9-yard line. Buffalo leading the league in penalties. Robertson, and you can understand his frustration. A man rushing the passer is trying to keep his arms up to deflect the pass. At the same time, you're trying to make contact, and that move alone led him right into the penalty. Cincinnati already with 14, and Chuck Knox's defense needs to come up with a big play and more. Alexander, just a couple. Smurless, Robertson making the tackle.
The NFL rule is that you cannot strike the throwing arm or go to the helmet of the quarterback. We'll let you watch it yourselves.
There's no question it's a penalty, but on Robertson's behalf, you can see why he said, what am I to do? M.L. Harris replaces Alexander as Forrest Gregg of the Bengals goes to 2 tight ends. He has Collinsworth in the slot right. Johnson. Good defensive play by Buffalo, and a little extra kicking afterwards, and Haslett and Johnson get into it. And the officials look like Tony Viteri in there, like a wrestling referee. Go get him, Tony.
Tony wondering if he's officiating in a boxing match or what, but obviously emotional defense. Buffalo frustrated at the fact that they haven't been able to slow down Cincinnati here. Jim Haslett, the number 2 tackler on that Buffalo defense, the man that ended up bouncing it around with Johnson. But a great block on that last play by Chris Collinsworth, the young rookie, and you don't think of receivers throwing that great of blocks. He wiped out the cornerback out on that side, Mario Clark, making some room for Johnson.
2-yard loss on the play. It's 3rd and goal from the 9. Curtis and Collinsworth to the left, and now Steve Kreider, a triple left formation. goes Anderson. 91. Ken Johnson made the tackle after Ben Williams had chased him out of his position. So Forrest Gregg's team for the first time has been stopped, and the field goal team will come on.
You've got to get to the quarterback, and Buffalo finally does it here. They get two people. Johnson in on him, big 77, also in on him, Ben Williams. It's finally Johnson who comes over the top and takes Anderson down. But let's credit the defensive backs. He obviously didn't have a man open early.
Jim Breach, who is 8 yards back at the 23, a 33-yard attempt. Bills do come up with a big defensive plays.
Rob Riddick, number 40, a play reminiscent of the one you saw last night as Kellen Winslow came over the top. Riddick starting from a few yards back, right in the center of your picture. Now watch him go up into the air. He times his jump perfectly. He'll tap the ball right there. Brilliant play, and a very, very important play for the Buffalo Bills.
What an athletic move by Riddick. He had skied, and he denies the 3. Talking proud, the Bills fans, are about 500 of them here in Cincinnati. Rob Riddick has just denied a field goal by blocking that 33-yard attempt. Ferguson takes over at the Bills' 20. 14-0 Bengals, and Cribbs gets only 2 yards. Ross Browner, number 79, the former Outland Trophy and Lombardi Trophy winner from Notre Dame, made the tackle.
Good play on the nose by Rod Horn, number 71, who's in there. They're making it tough on Buffalo to move that football today. Anthony Munoz, what an athlete he is.
2nd down, 8. Bramer, the tight end, to the left, the 2 wide receivers to the right. Lewis in the slot. Ferguson in trouble, and finds Bramer, the tight end, at the 32-yard line. Make it to 33 and a first down. 10 yards on the play for Bramer.
First completion for Ferguson. Just a few folks here from Buffalo. They're got to be happy to see that the Bills finally get to move it. But again, Buffalo had to start deep in their own territory. And when you're 80 yards or more from your own, or from that scoring end zone, that's an awful lot of green to cover.
Yet, Merlin, despite the dominance of Cincinnati early, should Buffalo go on to score here and make it a 14-7 game, it changes the whole complexion.
We talked about field position. Look at that. 17, 23, 15, and 20. That's making it tough.
On first down, Ferguson going long for Butler. Oh, just misses at the 25-yard line. Well executed. Ferguson looking off the defense with a pump on a short pattern to the right, and then recocking and firing deep to Butler.
Joe Ferguson has one of the strongest arms in the NFL. He looked first to Lewis. Lewis has been his main man recently, but there goes the other wide receiver, who is a great deep receiver, and just off the fingertips of Butler. What a heartbreak for the Buffalo fans.
We got him 6.38 on the slide. Yards.
You saw the water come up too. We're getting into the treacherous end of the field when they move to the right here.
Complete to Lewis at the 50-yard line down at the Cincinnati 49. Second completion for Ferguson, the first to Lewis, who had a big day last week against the Jets with 7 catches and 2 touchdowns. The best of the year, 158 yards.
A play reminiscent of several in that Jet game too, as he finds the open territory. Breeden giving him a little bit of extra room, and Ferguson gets it comfortably into his hands.
Couple of veterans, Lewis and Charlie Joyner, teammates at Grambling, and Joyner, of course, had some big catches again last night for San Diego. First time Buffalo's been on Cincinnati's half of the field. Complete to Leaks, hit immediately at the 43, a gain of about 6. Jim LeClaire from North Dakota, number 55, made the tackle.
Excellent protection that time. Tom Lynch taking on 2 people. One of the guards that gave the quarterback a little extra time. Let's watch Leaks here as he just slides out of the backfield. Little circle pattern. Gets out there and says, hey, I'm open. And he is. Number 55, Jim LeClaire, finally coming over to put the clamps on him. Knox encouraged by the life shown by his offense here.
7 minutes and 10 seconds remaining in the second quarter. Cincinnati leads 14-0. Krebs to about the 38-yard line.
He'll be close.
They push him back, but I believe he might have picked up the first down yardage. We'll see where they mark it.
He's got it. They've signaled first down.
Ross Browner and others on the tackle for Cincinnati.
Your point earlier is a very good one, Dick, about Cincinnati having dominated the statistics and the first quarter of play, but only having those 14 on the board. If Buffalo can get this one into the end zone, they're right back in striking distance and only need one more big play to tie it up.
49-year-old Chuck Knox in his 4th year at the helm in Buffalo. First down. This drive started back at the 20 after the blocked field goal. Now at the 37 of Cincinnati. A quickie to Lewis. Oh, was he hit at the 35-yard line. Lewis Breeden with a solid tackle. Only about 3 yards on that play. That's a lot of punishment for 3 yards.
Chance for you to get right down on the field. Breeden doing a good job. You see him getting a good plan on the field. He's not back into the slick part of the field. Gets right up on Lewis. The other thing that these players have an advantage here at home for Cincinnati, they know what kind of shoes to wear on this field. Buffalo brought about 5 or 6 different kinds, and they have all kinds of shoes on their feet.
Give him 4 yards on the play. Second down and 6. Krebs has blockers.
Good play. Ooh.
And at the 30-yard line, an excellent stop by Bobby Kemp and Glenn Cameron. Cameron 50, and Kemp, the rookie from Cal State Fullerton, came up from the secondary to help out when it appeared that Krebs really had a lot of running room to the near side.
Short yardage situation here for Buffalo. Buster Barnett, 84, and Ron Jesse in. Take out the 2 wide receivers. Let's see if they can capitalize and pick up the first down.
Third down, a long yard at the 29. Leaks and Krebs in the eye. It's Krebs. Going to be close. Right into the Bengal cage. And Krebs at that 28-yard line. We may have a measurement.
Buffalo obviously changing up too. Normally on a short yardage situation they give it to big Roosevelt Leaks. He's converted on 78% of the short yardage plays, 25 of 32 on the season, but they used him as a blocker there and handed it to Krebs.
All right, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but if Buffalo does not make the first down, will Knox gamble and go for the first down, or will he kick the field goal, do you think?
It's an awfully long field goal. I wouldn't be surprised to see him gamble, but he doesn't have to make that choice.
Nor do you have to answer the question.
That would be an awfully long shot for Mickemeyer. Knox obviously now concerned about keeping this drive alive. He told me before the game, told me last night, his main concern was in not making mistakes. We've seen the result of that early in the game. He wants to get this one in the end zone if he can.
Bengal fans cheering the defense. Cincinnati dominating the first quarter, led 14-0. But a blocked field goal attempt by Buffalo has spurred the Bills emotionally. Ferguson intercepted. Number 53, Bo Harris, stops the Bills.
Exactly what Chuck Knox was talking about. Last week Ferguson had 4 interceptions, 3 of them in a second half when they were just barely able to hang on. But a great play, the ball on target. Bo Harris just leaped up, batted the ball with a single hand, and then pretended to be a halfback to get up the sideline. And if you want to know how Joe Ferguson felt about that play, no question.
He returns it to the 24-yard line, does Bo Harris, and the Bengals drive is stopped. Even though they still misspell your name. See what fame has brought you, Merlin Olsen?
As long as they know him here, I guess it's all right.
O-L-S-E-N. Cincinnati stopping Buffalo's drive after 10 plays, and the Bills driving finally deep into Cincinnati territory, only to be intercepted by Bo Harris. Made quite a play. Those linebackers usually are not quite that deft on those tips.
Chuck Knox talked about mistakes, turnovers. There they are. 2-0 for the Bengals. That's been Ken Anderson's strength on the year. He has not made the big mistakes. In fact, the Cincinnati Bengals had the fewest turnovers in the NFL during this last season.
Anderson was intercepted only once in every 48 passes. That's an incredible. Only 10 interceptions despite the fact he put the ball up a record amount of times this year. In trouble, and he hangs on to the ball at the 15-yard line. There's a case where he didn't try to force the ball away, make a mistake. He had to swallow it. Third sack by the Bills. Sherman White.
Sherman White working on Anthony Munoz. You heard him talking about that matchup in the pregame. Munoz pushes him inside. White says, that's fine with me. I'll get a shot at the quarterback. But again, Ken Anderson did not have an open receiver. Had to hang on to the football. And rather than throw it and take a chance of an interception, he ate it. That's smart football.
The Bills, 3 sacks today, had 48 this year. They were third in the league behind the Jets and Oakland. And it was a record number of sacks for Buffalo. On a draw, Alexander. And he draws a crowd at the 25-yard line. And that'll force Cincinnati to give up the ball with 2 minutes and 40 seconds showing the clock running.
Bengals had expected to see 7 defensive backs in this game today. So far, they've only seen 6. The reason for that is because last week against the Jets, the Bills had a couple of defensive backs hurt. They looked around. They had no one to go in. They had their 7 players on the field. Tom Catlin said, we couldn't afford to do that again here today. So they've gone back to a 6 defensive back situation where they have somebody that can substitute in case somebody gets shaken up.
McAnally, the league leader this year, and a Pro Bowler, sends a floater. That's Riddick at the 35.
David Verser.
Wide receiver, a #1 draft pick on the special teams. David Verser with an outstanding open field tackle. 2:03 left. 3 seconds before the 2-minute warning. Back at Riverfront Stadium, 59,000. Unusually warm January day, 51 degrees. Well, the Bengals didn't need any divine help in that first quarter.
Had a priest stop me in the lobby today. Said, how were your collections over the holiday?
From the 35, Buffalo's best field position. And Ferguson goes long for Butler. He's open. He's got it at the 10-yard line. How do you do? Joe Ferguson with a bomb to Butler. 55 yards. And with 1:55 left in this first half, Buffalo with a chance to get on the board.
One-on-one, it's Butler against Ken Riley, and Butler wins the battle of man-on-man and sets Buffalo in good field position.
Let's go back to that 55-yard play. Ferguson to Butler.
Good field position, and the Bills capitalize immediately. They can afford to be a little more aggressive from their own 35. Beautiful job of stretching out to get that pass. Hard for Ken Riley to keep up with the sprinter speed of Butler. Let's see now what they can do from the 10.
Ball is just outside the 10. So they have to go the full distance. First down. Oops.
Offside, I believe, on the Bengals.
Krebs coming back inside for a couple. We'll check the penalty flag. One of the blessings of this game, there have been so few flags thrown in the first 30 minutes.
It appeared that Wilson Whitley, the nose tackle, was offside on that play, and boy, if he is, that gives him 4 shots from the 5.
Pat Haggerty signals offside Cincinnati. That'll take the ball to the 5, just outside the 5. Technically, the Bills could get a first down without a touchdown. Forrest Gregg, his 3rd year here in Cincinnati, the AFC Coach of the Year, former All-Pro Hall of Famer with the Green Bay Packers, 3 years for the Cleveland Browns. 75 Wilson Whitley.
Quick look at it. Watch him on the nose right here. Just try to jump quickly and stay ahead of it. He guessed with the count, and it cost him 5 yards.
Cribbs down to about the 2-yard line. Ross Browner on his back. It'll be second down and a short 3. Here comes some extra beef for the Bengals. Rod Horn 71, Burley 67, and LeClaire 72 come into the game. Linebackers go out, so they'll use all their defensive linemen. 3 linebackers out, 3 defensive linemen in.
Buffalo, a conservative team, passing infrequently on this kind of situation.
Buffalo taking its time. They want to use up as much time as well. 108, 107 left in the half. Cribbs breaks a tackle, and he is right on the goal line. They do not call it touchdown, but that should be almost a first down. It seemed almost impossible that that ball could be that close.
It's going to be very close to a first down.
They may have to measure. They may have to measure.
Looked to me that part of Cribbs' body was over the goal line.
They stopped the clock. 42 seconds left.
Chance to watch it yourself. Cribbs doing a good job of pulling out of a tackle there and getting out of the grasp of Brian Hicks. Another shot of it. Pull right there. John Borchert, 73, leading the way. Leaks ahead of him. Ends up laying almost on the goal line, and it's going to be a first down, I believe.
Yes, it is. First and goal from about 8 inches away with 42 seconds left, and Chuck Knox has all 3 timeouts should he need them. And he's going to use one right now, or was he just signaling, be alert to use a timeout? I think that was the message he was sending out to Ferguson. Oh, the clock is running now. 30 seconds.
Let's see if he goes to his big back. He's been going to Cribbs here.
Trying to cut the lead from 14-0. It's a touchdown for Cribbs. So the second-year back from Auburn, airborne to get Buffalo on the scoreboard with 20 seconds left in the half. The one big play, actually 2 defensively. With that blocked field goal, that took some of the momentum away from Cincinnati. And then offensively, the 55-yard bomb to Butler.
Knox saying, I knew we were going to score, but having played for Chuck Knox in Los Angeles for a long time, he is a very intense coach, and there are a lot of acids eating up his stomach right now, I'll tell you that. Big play, and this extra point is important too.
Mickemeyer drills it through, and with 20 seconds left in the half, Buffalo pulls within a touchdown. The Bengals 14, the Bills 7. Now Joe Cribbs flying into the end zone for the Buffalo score.
There he is. That's Kay Stevenson in front of him, offensive coordinator for the Bills. But that's a very, very important touchdown to be able to have been outplayed so strongly in the first part of this game, and to only be a touchdown behind at this point. Emotionally, a big lift for the Bills.
Archie Griffin and David Verser are deep. This is Verser, the sprinter from Kansas, the rookie, to the 10. And out of bounds around the 20-yard line. 16 seconds left in the half. Before we go to halftime, and NFL 81 with an outstanding show again for you. Well, let's go back first. One of their highlights may well be this one.
Almost the action of a ballet dancer. Cribbs into the air, twisting his body to the side, just managing to elude the grasp of the Bengals. And you saw Ross Browner coming over from the other side, his frustration at seeing Cribbs in the end zone.
We'd like to pay a tribute in watching the game last night, how proud we were of NBC Sports and that presentation of the overtime game. You just can't do a football telecast better than NBC carried that game last night, and NFL 81 the same. Their pregame show today, just a piece of excellence. And they're standing by at halftime to bring you the highlights as the clock runs out. 3, 2, 1. The Bengals leave the field with a lead, but Buffalo leaves the field with the momentum. The score at the intermission, 14-7 Cincinnati.
We're
back at Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, where at halftime the Bengals are out in front of the Buffalo Bills 14-7, the winner to move on to play the Chargers in the AFC's championship game. But yesterday down in Miami, we began a retrospective of the 1981 season, so let's pick it up now at Week 10. The Oakland Raiders are in shambles, and the playoff race is on. We opened Week 10 with a Byron Day report on the quiet consistency of the Pittsburgh running game, Franco Harris.
I can contribute, and as long as I can contribute and I can enjoy the game and don't mind sacrificing for it, then I think I can play.
And we took a hard look at the hard nature of football's headgear and weighed its protective worth against its potential use as a weapon. On the field, the lightly regarded Bears stunned another AFC West opponent by upending the Chiefs in overtime. And the Colts lost their 9th straight. They were humiliated by the Jets. And as usually follows losing, there was dissension in the ranks.
Have you and Bert talked?
No, we haven't.
Do you want to talk to him?
Not this year.
In Week 11, Burt Jones and Curtis Dickey still weren't talking, but the Baltimore Colts still were losing. Philly buried them 38-13. The NFL's only two-way player, Roy Green, flashed his brilliance on a Sunday against the Buffalo Bills, and with the help of O.J. Anderson, the Cardinals shut out the AFC Bills 24-0. But on that Sunday, as we objectively viewed the decrease of AFC dominance in interconference play and sought out some reasons, AFC teams went out and overpowered their NFC brethren. In Atlanta, the visiting Steelers laid waste to the Falcons as Terry Bradshaw threw for 5 scores. And out west, the Browns found one of their 5 wins of the season in the mud of San Francisco. Week 12 brought a report on bad blood. And as we explore the nature of rivalries, some spirited play gave new meaning to some traditional meetings. Kellen Winslow tied a record with 5 touchdowns as the Chargers humiliated the Raiders. A wing and a prayer in the closing seconds snatched a win from the jaws of defeat for the Bills in Foxborough. And with one memorable pass, the Jets edged the Dolphins and moved into first place for the first time in many a year. For our Pete Axtell, Thanksgiving brought problems with a turkey and the Silverdome airlock. And by the start of Week 13, we were viewing problems of a different kind. Problems the Rams were having off the field.
You know, these guys are getting paid an awful lot of money for their quick reflexes, and they can sure whip on a towel pretty fast.
Ram paranoia resulted in locked practices and aerial views, but no more wins. The Dolphins closed out November by reclaiming first with a win over the stumbling Patriots and their soon-to-be ex-coach Ron Earhart. One man we found looking for work, former ASU boss Frank Cush. Week 14, too, gave us a chance to find Milton College, the school that spawned Dave Craig, Seattle's substitute quarterback who turned into a hero for a day. As we open the next-to-last regular season week in Cleveland, Sam Ratigliano was unchanged by his club's drop from first to last, and O.J. talked Heisman talk with Marcus Allen. We took a nostalgic look at the dominant Steelers of the 70s as they gathered in '81 for one final push against the Bengals. The push and the Steelers came up short, and Pittsburgh was removed from a playoff picture that was confusing even to Saturday Night Live's Joe Piscopo. Off the field, the Chargers stirred more turmoil. Dan Fouts' union bill of $1,100 brought on a major argument over the aims and powers of the Players Association.
And what Ed Garvey and the Players Association is trying to do is form a socialistic society within the National Football League.
Obviously, they had a duty under the agreement to suspend Dan. He's the only player out of 1,530 that we've had that problem with in 5 years, so we don't see that as a major problem.
We opened Week 16 on a Saturday in Miami. As we paid attention to the oft-overlooked efforts of Joe Cribbs, the Miami Dolphins won the East by dominating the Bills in the Orange Bowl 16-6. The regular season's final Sunday was a Sunday of goodbyes. As we said goodbye to Metropolitan Stadium, the Vikings closed out their Bloomington home with a loss to the Chiefs. And as we saluted Alan Page's goodbye to an illustrious career, the Bears routed Denver to go 4-0 against AFC West opponents and deal a death blow to the Broncos' playoff dreams. The playoffs got underway last weekend in the rain at Shea Stadium, and with a last-second interception, the Bills prevailed 31-27 to find themselves at Riverfront on this Sunday to go against the Bengals. This National Football League playoff game is brought to you by matching the Giants and the 49ers. Fred Rogan has a report.
Good morning, Brian, from chilly Candlestick Park. 49er fans have been waiting 10 years for playoff action to return here. They've been out here since 6 o'clock this morning, waiting to get into the park. We talked with them a bit earlier.
stood in line for 2 days waiting to get tickets, and brought us on down.
We're looking like winners, believe it or not. With a bunch of beginners and a kid named Ronnie Lott.
What are we having here for breakfast today?
We're going to have Italian sausage. We're going to improvise a little. We're going to have some potato salad. We're going to have a lot of friends.
49ers on the way to Detroit. This is next year. Super Bowl champions.
Why such an elegant glass and an elegant drink?
For such an elegant team.
Those are 2 thighs off a New York Giant defensive tackle.
Well, as you can tell, Bryant, 49er fans are ready for the ball game to start. A quick weather report, a 40% chance of rain here at Candlestick. A bit later on, we'll be back with an interview with Fred Dean and Jack Hacksaw Reynolds. That's it from Candlestick. Back to you in Cincinnati, Bryant.
All right, Fred Rogan, thank you very much. I'm joined now by Mike Adamle. And Mike, I guess if we've learned anything from these playoffs, it's the team that gets off to the best start. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. Teams have been coming back in these things all along.
Absolutely no lead is safe, as you'll see in these highlights coming up from Cincinnati-Buffalo game. It all got started with special.
Ready for the second half at Riverfront Stadium. Cincinnati leading Buffalo 14-7. As everyone well knows, the winner will get San Diego for the championship next Sunday. Merlin Olsen, as the Bills come back out of the locker room, the Bengals have been out already 3 minutes. Which team has the advantage at halftime in terms of what happened in the first half today?
Dick, I think it's much easier for Chuck Knox to get his team ready for this second half than it is for Forrest Gregg. The Bengals really had it all their way in the first part of this ball game. They had field position, they had the turnovers, and they got the early touchdowns. Buffalo came back finally, taking advantage of the fact that I'm sure that the decision of Hank Bulla and the Bengal defense was to double cover Frank Lewis off the great performance he had last week. That left Butler one-on-one. They had 2 shots at it, made one work, got into the end zone. But I've got to believe that if Buffalo now can come out with that same feeling they had at the end of the half, they have a little emotional edge going into this second half of this ball game.
The Bengals will get the ball first when we start this second half. The rest of the Bills just now coming out of the dressing room, so whether it was game or working on a different clock, Cincinnati's been cooling off on their sidelines in anticipating their opponents coming out of the locker room. There are the official first half statistics. The turnovers 2-0, as Merlin pointed out. Buffalo really didn't get any breaks. Bengals did, and yet the score is only 14-7 at the intermission.
Without that big 54-yard pass to Butler, those stats would be much, much different. But the important thing, again, look down at the turnovers, as you said, Dick. That was the critical problem for Buffalo. Ferguson now in 5 quarters of football, just over 4 quarters, has thrown 6 interceptions. They cannot afford that in the second half.
Archie Griffin on the far side, and David Verser on the near side will return Micah Myers' kick. 14-7. Cincinnati leads. Good kick. Verser, a yard deep. 10. And you can see the wetness of the field as some splashes of water from the athletes as they made their move toward the far sideline. And Verser does not get to the 15-yard line, or just to the 15.
A very confident and aggressive beginning for Buffalo, kicking off to one of the most dangerous return men in the league, and then forcing him out of bounds on the 15-yard line. Let's see if their defense can keep the momentum going for them.
Ken Anderson was a perfect 6-for-6 passing in the first half. He starts from his poorest field position, the 15. Out of the backfield to Johnson, and he's out of bounds at the 19. Jim Haslett and Lucius Sanford made the tackle.
We talked about the wet end of the field. Earlier we had one of our cameramen show you the kind of water that's embedded in that artificial turf. And of course, on some turfs, a wet field is not slippery. This is an old turf, and it has a tendency to be very slippery when it holds that kind of water. So it's a treacherous part of the field. You saw the Bengals take advantage of it earlier. That's where they're operating again right now.
Give Anderson 7 for 7 and 5 yards on that first throw to the 20-yard line. Alexander out of the backfield, way out to the left. Well, they've got him spread the full width of the field. Anderson. Now he finds Collinsworth, and the rookie has his first catch of the game and a first down at the 27.
Rushing 3 and dropping 8. Anderson with all kinds of time to work. You're not going to keep him away for long. He finds Collinsworth, and chance for you to almost catch that one in your armchair at home. Collinsworth took it away from you, gets the first down.
His nickname is Cadillac, and he has played in high society in his first year in the NFL, making the Pro Bowl, 67 catches. Anderson, still a perfect day from the 28-yard line. And it is intercepted. Was he inbounds? No, he only got 1 foot in. Charles Romes picked off the deflection, but couldn't get both feet down, and that is the first incomplete pass, almost a disastrous one for Anderson.
It was Charles Romes who got that big turnover to get Buffalo off to such a fast start last week, but 1 foot in, and the other one a mile away.
2nd and 10. The Bengals ducked what could have been a dangerous bullet. 14-7 Cincinnati, just starting the second half. To the 31-yard line goes Alexander. Short yardage. It'll be 3rd down and 7. Rod Cush in on the tackle along with Ken Johnson. Cush, who has an interesting hobby, he trains attack dogs.
He was doing the attacking there with just one linebacker in there. Cincinnati choosing to try and run. Turn one of those backs loose in the secondary against all the DBs. Buffalo responding well. Got him in a 3rd and 7 situation.
Forrest Gregg has sent in an extra wide receiver, Steve Kreider. Kreider and Collinsworth are to the left with Curtis way out to the right. 3rd and 7. Under pressure and almost intercepted at the 42-yard line by Romes, who read it well and had cut in front of Collinsworth, the intended receiver. So the Buffalo Bills do carry that momentum from the end of the first half into the early moments of this 3rd quarter.
Charles Romes getting that lead hand, and what good technique from the cornerback as he gets out in front, taps that ball away from Collinsworth. Anderson's first 2 incompletions of the day came at a critical time for the Bill defense.
Pat McAnally, who punted only once in the first half. That net average maybe more important than the total average you normally see. Almost blocked as Nixon was in on McAnally.
Forced a bad kick.
The Bills stay away from it. A lateral roll at the 32, and now it takes a Cincinnati bounce to the 31-yard line. 37-yard kick by McAnally, but he almost had that one blocked. Timeout. 12:47 left, 3rd quarter. The Bills with the ball, trailing by 7. Conrad Dobler, non-starter today, watching as the Bills take over at the 31-yard line. They trail 14-7. Bills' first possession of the second half. Ferguson comes out throwing and has a man open. Lewis to the 46-yard line, and a first down for Buffalo. 15 yards on the play.
Lewis doing an excellent job of getting open. Ferguson with enough time to throw. Let's watch a linebacker as he tries to blitz. That's been a specialty of Reggie Williams this year. He got to Ferguson on that play just as Ferguson delivered the football. Another chance for you to see the ball coming at you. Lewis, the man that is breaking free. They've gone back to the other side now to double up on Butler after his big play earlier.
Nice camera coverage. Larry Cirillo, our producer, Ted Nathanson, our director from Cincinnati, where the Bills near midfield trail by 7. Krebs inside handoff, breaks a tackle to the 49 of Buffalo. That'll be close to 6 yards. A reminder, next Sunday, the AFC Championship. We know San Diego will be one of the teams. If Buffalo wins today, the Chargers will host the championship game, as they did last year when they lost to Oakland. And if Cincinnati wins, the game will be here. Chargers at Cincinnati. One of the questions raised in the NFL 81 pregame show, Merlin, was how much will that win last night take out of San Diego?
An emotional game like that, Dick, it's awfully hard to get it out of your head. Hard to forget about it and go to work.
Second down 5. Cribbs again, big hole. And he's inside the 45 to the 44, and that should be good enough for a first down.
He does have the first down, and you saw the more or less straight-up running style of Joe Cribbs. Watch him for yourself. One of the problems he's had over the past couple of seasons is fumbling the football. See how straight up his body is? Watch the shot he takes. He's literally right up where people can get at that football. He didn't fumble it there. Very important that they not turn the ball over. That really has killed them in the last 4 or 5 quarters of football.
What an addition he's been to this team. 2 years, 2 Pro Bowl years. He had nearly 1,200 yards rushing last year, nearly 1,100 this year. First down from the 44. Good protection. Almost intercepted. That pass a little slow getting to Butler, and Lewis Breeden had his eyes on a possible touchdown.
Get ready at home, folks. Here comes another pass you might have a chance at. Louis Breeden making an excellent ball reaction here. You see him there getting ahead of Butler. Just couldn't quite keep his hands on it. And Joe is scared, I think, right here. He can't afford another interception. Watch the reaction that he gives us. A little bit of relief on his face.
Second down and 10. Third quarter, 10.5 minutes remaining. That was Hooks in motion, and Cribbs running the other way.
First down and more.
To the 30, he's going to go all the way for a touchdown. Joe Cribbs, he had only one blocker out there. That was Hooks in motion. He did most of that on his own. 44 yards for a touchdown.
It was a big run like that from Cribbs last week that appeared to put the Jets game on ice. It looked like he was going to be trapped on the left side as he cut out to the outside, but suddenly cut back against the grain and made it on his own. Buffalo responding very quickly in this second half. Good first series on defense, and Joe Cribbs doing it all.
Ran through the whole Bengal team on that side of the field, and then outran Breeden at the goal line. The try for point by Mickemeyer, and we've got a new game. 10 minutes and 23 seconds in the third quarter. Buffalo's first possession produces a touchdown, and the Bills and Bengals are even. Joe Cribbs with his second touchdown of the game. The first one 1 yard, actually about 8 inches, and the second one 44 yards. An unusual call. It seemed to catch Cincinnati off stride, and Cribbs, with that great tackle-breaking talent, doing it himself.
Both teams obviously wanting to run in a passing situation, and that's exactly what Buffalo was able to do there.
It was a 2nd and 10 call. Mickemeyer kicks it off. David Verser. He's going to take it out. 10, 20, and he's to the 35-yard line. That was nearly a 40-yard return by Verser, who gambled. Let's go back to the touchdown by Cribbs. 2nd and 10.
Thinking it was a pass, they had a lot of passing people in the ball game. 55, Leclerc missed him the first time. Riley, number 13, misses him, and then Breeden catches him, but too late as Cribbs bursts into the end zone.
Verser's kickoff return has awakened the crowd. Anderson to throw. He goes a little longer. Almost intercepted, and penalty flag on Mario Clark. They're going to call interference.
Isaac Curtis tapping his back, saying you're absolutely right. He bumped me in the back. Again, you saw Clark coming around with the inside hand, the lead hand, but he did bump him from behind.
18 yards on the penalty.
Rules are very specific. You see the little bump there, and that act was clean in itself once he got around in front. But he'd already bumped Isaac Curtis in the back before he leaned around and knocked it away. Anderson again having time to throw here. That's a deeper route than he's been throwing earlier in the game.
play, but you saw the other. He did hit him with the body first. From the 48 of Buffalo, Pete Johnson. And he's finally bulldogged out of bounds at the 46. And some of the fans want a penalty, but when you got a man that's that big and tough to bring down, you don't dare let go until you're sure he's out of bounds.
Haslett and Smirlis over there to protect Lucius Sanford. Sanford had taken him out of bounds, and looked like maybe some of the Bengal players on the sideline were getting a little hot at him, and they sent a couple enforcers over there to get the man out of that Bengal bench.
The Bills able to stop Johnson for just a yard gain, so 2nd and 9. They come in with some extra defensive backs. Looks like he's using the 6 defensive back setup. So Cincinnati counters with 3 wide receivers. That's Kreider to the right. Curtis and Collinsworth are to the left. Anderson going to run it. 40, 35, and down at the 32 with a first down. The top passing quarterback in the league this year, the top running quarterback in the NFL this season.
Anderson has averaged 6.5 yards per carry during the season, and you see how important that is for a quarterback to be able to get at a defense by running the ball as well as throwing it.
It's interesting when he threw that hook slide in at the 33. That's almost exactly where second base is here when the Reds are playing at Riverfront.
He was safe too.
First down. The game is tied midway through the 3rd quarter. Johnson is hit immediately by Jim Haslett. Haslett from Indiana of Pennsylvania. We were talking about a man who grew up in that area just a couple of days ago. Jimmy Stewart, that part of this great country. The Grand Marshal of the Rose Parade. Jim Haslett, 6'3" and 232, making the stop for no gain.
Ken Riley relaxing on the bench as he tries to get his breath a little bit. Bills offense under some pressure here. Bengals moving.
6 defensive backs for Buffalo. Nice catch at the 25-yard line, short of the first down, but Dan Ross putting a meat hook on that one. That was almost done with one hand. 8 yards.
Tremendous pressure that time on the quarterback, but Dan Ross, who has had so many big plays already in this game, what an athletic move. Took that ball completely behind him, twisted all the way around. A remarkable athlete.
Winslow, San Diego, center of Minnesota, then Ross, and he actually had more receptions than Ozzie Newsome. Both Winslow and Newsome rated ahead of Ross in the Pro Bowl balloting, but Ross is coming quickly. On 3rd and 2, Alexander has the first down at the 20.
One of the problems you have getting ready for this Bengal offense is that they'll throw the football in any kind of situation. Short yardage, long yardage. They go after the passing game. So when you line up on an obvious run situation that you would assume to be a run, 3rd and short or 2nd very short, you've got to always have in your mind, maybe they're going to throw the football. Makes it tough defensively.
This is the 6th play of this drive after the Buffalo tying touchdown from the 20. Alexander. Touchdown.
Against the grain, found some room, and did the same thing that Cribbs did earlier. Drug a tackler with him into the end zone.
Try for point by Breach. Out of Kreider's hold, he just does hook it through. It's 21-14 Cincinnati against an alignment looking for the pass. Alexander ran right through some of those defensive backs.
Quick look at it from downstairs as as he dives into the end zone.
With his second touchdown, he had only 292 yards rushing all year. 63 yards today and 2 touchdowns. And Cincinnati back in front, 21-14. Reach the kick to Riddick and Brown. It comes to the rookie Riddick at the 4. 15. 21-yard line. That's all. John Simmons made the tackle. Let's go back to Alexander's 20-yard run for a touchdown.
Watch Alexander cut back against the grain right there. Saw the opening on the backside. They cut off the backside pursuit, and he's showing the kind of speed and the kind of running ability that the Bengals had expected out of him. Did not give it to him during the season, but here when it counts, they're getting the performance.
And now they're chanting defense here at Riverfront.
The Bills have been 2 different teams today. When they started deep in their own territory, they have not done well.
Krebs. Maybe a yard. 2nd and 9. LeClaire spearheaded that charge. There was just no holes.
Bills really have only had 2 good starting opportunities outside the 30-yard line and have scored off both of them. Every time they've started way back in their own territory, they've really fizzled out, Dick.
Like to remind fans on NBC, next Saturday we have another classic basketball matchup. Number 1 North Carolina against number 2 Virginia. Again, the top spot in college basketball at stake, and you'll see it on NBC at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. 2nd and 9. Ferguson short hops it. It leaks. It'll be 3rd and 9. Ferguson is 6 for 15 passing, 2 interceptions. 110 yards total, and exactly half of his total of 110, 55, came on the one big throw to Butler that set up the touchdown.
Ferguson angry at himself. I think he pulled that football down because he wanted to throw it low. He was afraid of the interception. He had the man open, and normally it would have been an easy pass for him. It makes it tough on a quarterback when he's afraid to pull the trigger, Dick.
It's interesting in this era of passing, especially Cincinnati and Buffalo, all 5 touchdowns in the game have come running. Crowd is deafening.
5 linemen, they're trying to get after him.
Complete to Ron Jesse, and the veteran has a first down at the 33-yard line. 11 yards to Jesse, who came with Chuck Knox from the Los Angeles Rams.
On the play that Ferguson threw the ball short, this is 2 plays ago now. This is the one that he felt, and I think we felt he should have had. Watch his reaction to it. He came back and atoned for it with a big first down pass to Ron Jesse.
Ferguson, one of the many quarterbacks out of Shreveport, Louisiana, to make it big in the NFL. Terry Bradshaw, one of those. Complete to Roland Hooks at about the 39-yard line. A gain of about 5, maybe 6. Bo Harris made the tackle.
Without the brilliant play of Hooks earlier in the season, these Bills would not be here. He subbed, of course, for Krebs. Made that spectacular clutch catch you saw at the end of the game against New England. And right there gets a good pickup for them. It'll be 2nd and 5. Krebs off the sideline again. They certainly would hate to lose him here, but a more than adequate replacement in Roland Hooks.
Hooks the tail in the eye. 2nd and 4. Hooks. Good second effort by Hooks, and he has a first down near the 44-yard line. Hooks from North Carolina State. His running mate was Ted Brown, the fine running back of the Minnesota Vikings in college.
They call him a Bengal killer here. He has always played extremely well against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Joe Krebs taking a breather. They were looking at his legs. From the 44, clock running, exactly 4 minutes left in the 3rd quarter. Cincinnati 21, Buffalo 14. Oops, Ferguson slipping. And what a catch by Butler, acrobatically pulling it in at the 50-yard line. You saw Ferguson, he tripped on the cutout that would be, let's see, that would be second base, I believe. Yes.
Watch Ferguson dropping here. One of the tricky parts of this field, there are cutouts that go into the field to replace those bases, and they're not as level, and they're a different texture than the rest of the field. Ferguson lucky to keep his feet, but even more fortunate to have an acrobatic receiver like Jerry Butler to make him look good on that play.
They just are beyond belief. There you see the roughness of that cutout area. Here's Hooks. He's to the Cincinnati 46, the 45-yard line, and that'll be good for another first down. Hooks, who celebrated his 29th birthday yesterday.
You see him clutching his ribs. He's got a separated rib cartilage, got a flak jacket on, but imagine taking this kind of punishment, hanging onto the football and still going for extra effort with ribs that have got to be terribly painful.
Reggie Williams dragging him down from behind, but not until Hooks had a first down at the 45 of the Bengals. Cribbs with a couple of Buffalo touchdowns. 21-14, Cincinnati leads it, but Buffalo on the mark. Contact before the snap. We'll see whether Buffalo drew Cincinnati offside.
That's going to be a close call. Ken Jones lifted his hand, but it may have been that. I will let the officials call this one.
Ball start.
Yeah. The defensive man is allowed to get into that neutral zone because he can get back. And if the offensive man lifts his hand before he's bumped, they're going to call it on the offensive man. Ken Jones, the man who offended on that play.
We talked about Dan Ross and the fact that he's had a couple of great seasons, but so little national publicity. The same could be said for the two offensive tackles for Buffalo, Ken Jones and Joe Devlin, 72 and 70.
Number 72, offense.
They sure had a tough week last week, but did a marvelous job against Klecko and Gastineau in that big game. Only 2 sacks in that whole ball game, and partially because of the great play of those two tackles.
First and 15 from the 50. Good protection again, and Roosevelt Leaks clutches the reception at the 41-yard line. Bo Harris makes the tackle after 9 yards. It'll be 2nd and 6.
Roosevelt Leaks, extremely dependable, a strong football player. We talked about his prowess running the football. Watch him protect the football here. He's going to clutch that thing to his chest. Oof.
He's strong enough to pop it.
Taking some pounding on that play, though.
Leaks, who preceded the great Earl Campbell at the University of Texas. Campbell, again, the NFL rushing leader. Leaks a big hole, and it appears he has another first down crossing the 35 of Cincinnati. This has been a long drive for the Buffalo Bills. We understand that Joe Cribbs has injured a ligament, apparently in the knee, and probably will not return to the game. That is bad news for Buffalo.
Not quite as bad as it would have been if we had not seen his replacement do so well in this drive, but certainly to lose a man that big a part of your offense is costly.
10th play of this drive for Buffalo. They're at the 35 of Cincinnati. No grounding, no grounding. He did have a man in the area. Ross Bronner was applying the pressure. Number 84, Buster Barnett, a tight end, was close enough that Pat Haggerty did not throw the flag.
Certainly, I'm sure, thought about it. Ferguson takes a little extra time here. He usually has unloaded the football by this time. The ball pulled down, not much of a pass, and yet there was Barnett coming into your picture, and Pat Haggerty saying, no, I don't believe he just tried to throw it to save the sack.
This drive began at the Buffalo 21-yard line. 4 defensive linemen now for Cincinnati as they use their 4-2-5 alignment. Here's Hooks, gets a block, and is ridden out of bounds at about the 28-yard line. That'll not be good enough for the first down, and will bring up 3rd down and a long 3. Oliver Davis and Brian Hicks made the tackle.
Both teams employing somewhat the same philosophy as they try and mix the plays. running again in an obvious passing situation, getting good yardage. You see Horace Gregg on the sideline and Knox talking to his troops. These are two well-coached and well-disciplined football teams.
Very important play. Buffalo trailing by a touchdown in the third quarter with just seconds remaining. 47 seconds left in the period. And Joe Ferguson looking at third and a long 3 from the Cincinnati 28-yard line. Roland Hooks gets the call, and he delivers a first down at the 22. 39, 38. We'll see if another play.
Got a player on the field. It looks like Roosevelt Leaks, perhaps.
Both backs get up slowly, both Leaks and Hooks.
They were taking some pounding on that play. Watch it for yourself. There's a great block right there in the middle by Roosevelt Leaks, and then Hooks just lowers his shoulder. He's playing tremendous football in relief here. You see some of the power right there. Great shot by Leaks as he opens it up. And then Hooks refuses to go down until he's earned that first down. Where's that on the sideline? That's Leaks on the sideline. He must have taken a shot.
4 seconds left in the quarter. Hooks again. And he gets only to the 21-yard line. So the third quarter was costly for Buffalo. After tying the game, they relinquished that tie to Cincinnati, and they also have Joe Cribbs and at the moment Roosevelt Leaks on the sidelines. Buffalo trailing Cincinnati 21-14. We go to the fourth quarter with the Bills starting backfield sidelined with injuries. Cribbs on the left, a knee, and Leaks hasn't gotten up yet. They're still attending to him. The ball is at the 21 of Cincinnati. Second down and 9 for Buffalo as they drive toward a possible tying touchdown. For protection. Open is Butler. He's got a touchdown. Butler put a move on. Oh,
he did. Beautifully executed play, and we talked about quarterbacks having time to throw the football. Joe Ferguson, all kinds of time on that play. He was able to wait for Butler to finish the move, drive the defensive back off, cut underneath, took it and went into the end zone. An isolation now. You see him driving Ken Riley off and then cutting inside. Comes right underneath Cameron, the linebacker, who'd gotten a little too deep on that play, carried it into the end zone.
Try for a point, and it's even again as Mickemeyer just does hook it through. So the first passing touchdown of this game has brought Buffalo to a 21 tie.
Look at the great protection that Ferguson gets here, and then watch what he does with it as he drops it into his man Butler.
14:52 left. Touchdown makers. Ferguson up in the right-hand corner. Jerry Butler, as a rookie, he caught 4 touchdowns. Last year 6, this year 8, and he has 1 today in the playoffs. 14-play, 7-minute drive to tie the game for Buffalo.
Growing concern, though, as Roosevelt Leaks is still on the ground on the far sideline. As we said, Cribbs is out of the ball game. You need a running attack to sustain through this fourth quarter. A lot of pressure now shifting to the Buffalo defense.
Mickemeyer's kick. Traverser at the 5. 15. And straightened at the 21-yard line. Roosevelt Leaks in pain on the sidelines. Appeared to be injured when he threw that block. Timeout. 14:41 remaining in the fourth quarter. A 21-21 tie. That sign, of course, to Art Modell, the owner of the Browns. Greg, what do you call this one, Merlin Olsen?
Well, I talk about a high 5. This is almost a high 15 for the Bills in celebration of that touchdown by Jerry Butler.
22-yard line. Cincinnati takes over. There are the comparative statistics. Anderson has missed on only 2, but has less yardage than Ferguson throwing. Good protection. And he completes it. Short yardage out to the 28-yard line to Dan Ross. Ross has another catch, his 5th of the game.
They're going to take Roland Leaks off the field. They brought the card over for him. He's got a neck problem of some kind. They're working to try and take some pressure off. Perhaps a pinched nerve. We certainly hope it is not serious. But there are X-ray facilities here at the stadium. I'm quite certain that that's where they're headed now. They don't want to take any chances with that fine football player.
Well, the Bills have lost Cribbs and Leaks, their starting backs, for the rest of the game, apparently. Pete Johnson, meanwhile, is out to about the 32, and that's going to be very close to a first down for Cincinnati.
It would appear that at least some of the pain is dissipating. He certainly was under great stress. We'll hope to have word for you as soon as we can on his situation.
Roosevelt Leaks, not only a good short yardage runner and usually called upon down in goal line situations, but also a brilliant blocker, and they may have missed that aspect more than his running talent. It is going to be apparently just short of a first down by that much. In comes M.L. Harris, a second tight end, and David Verser. What they do is they put Verser up on the line of scrimmage in a tight end position, even though he's small and fast, and put one of the tight ends as a wing back, usually in motion.
And as I said earlier, they're not afraid to throw the football, even with third and inches.
So much at stake, and those expressions reflect that. 21 all. San Diego forced into overtime before they could beat Miami, and both teams had chances to win it before Gnerska kicked that field goal in the first overtime. It's Verser this time as the wing back, and Johnson plows ahead, enough for the first down. Yes, sir. You could almost put 3 or 4 men on his back and he'd give you a train ride.
Of course, Greg is pleased to have that kind of short yardage power in his backfield.
The score is even, and that statistic reflects how well matched these two clubs are. From the 33. Going long for Collinsworth. No flag, although Collinsworth was definitely bumped. And the officials saying it was inadvertent, but he was knocked off stride and didn't get a chance to really go to the ball.
Charles Romes and Collinsworth running shoulder to shoulder. Watch it here. Judge for yourselves. There's the initial bump. Collinsworth in the open field. Romes running with him. A shoulder right there. The official, close enough to have at least a view of it, decided that it was inadvertent. I think I may have thrown the flag on that one, Dick.
At least an illegal bump
from here.
5 yards.
From here we can throw the flag.
That's right.
Another view of it, and you saw it again. A clear bump.
And that was enough to throw him off stride, the one stride that might have gotten him to the ball.
I don't think he'd have caught it anyway, but it still appeared to be a penalty.
Second down and 10. Anderson swings it to Johnson. Good catch. 35, 40, 42, just short of the first down. Boy, that's a tough ball to catch on the run and down by your knees. And Johnson handled it very well.
8 yards on the play, and that's been one of the most effective plays for this team all year. That's a little outlet pass. Kenny Anderson just looking down, seeing nothing downfield, flips it outside. That's like a long handoff. And then Pete Johnson has scooped it up and becomes a running back. Fred Smerlis, 76, fighting from the inside, trying to get in on the quarterback. Gets there in time to get a hand in his face, but not much else.
Third down, about a yard and a half. Wide open is Kreider, and he's out of bounds at the Buffalo 40. No, he's not out of bounds. He's all the way to the 15-yard line. Steve Kreider's first catch of the game is a long one, 37 yards. I think Buffalo thought he'd gone out of bounds. They relaxed.
One of the first lessons of football, you don't stop till the whistle blows. Watch Kreider now tiptoe the sideline. They thought he had touched the side, but he didn't. He stayed in. Missed tackle there from 38 Nixon. They come down on him from behind. But that was Freeman finally making the stop, trying to stiff the football. But not until he got a big gain down to the 16.5-yard line. And the Bengals are threatening again.
Steve Freeman saved the tackle. Kreider goes off with a bad ankle. He had 37 catches. Curtis, who also plays that flanker spot, had 37. And Cincinnati threatens to break the tie. Less than 11 minutes remaining. 21-21. Incomplete. A tough attempt for Ross. He almost made another one of those lean back and catch a half the ball receptions.
Excellent defensive play by Billy Simpson, number 45, the hero of that victory last week. Watch Simpson coming in from behind. He got a hold of the arms. I think if he hadn't grabbed the arms, Ross would have come up with a big catch there. What an acrobatic tight end he is.
Ross 6'4" and 235.
But plays bigger than that. Tough blocker, but really has a lot of the moves of a wide receiver.
2nd and 10. Buffalo uses the 6 defensive backs. That's Alexander way out to the left. They're going to Ross, and he almost makes a one-handed catch with the coverage from Freeman. I don't think you can throw one out of Dan Ross's range.
That was an all-out blitz as they're coming in after Anderson, the quarterback. He read it quickly, and that's one of the things he does so well. You're absolutely right. Got a hand on that football and knocked away from it, but it's hard to get it away from him. Watch this. One hand, he tries to get it back in. Takes a real shot there from number 22, Freeman. He hadn't been there to deliver the blow. Ross might have had another completion.
3rd and 10 at the 16. Wide open is Collinsworth.
Chris Collinsworth, number 80, bright young rookie, and you saw the footing again. Collinsworth knowing where he was going. Rome's trying to stay with him. And that treacherous far into the field, that wet turf has claimed another victim and provided the Bengals with another touchdown.
Oh, Chris Collinsworth, a sensational rookie. 17 yards on the touchdown. Here's the try for point.
We talked about home field advantage. The Bengals knowing about the treacherous turf in this end of the field. They used it again to get that big go-ahead touchdown to Chris Collinsworth.
10.5 minutes remaining. Now 28-21. The last 4 possessions have resulted in scores. Buffalo scored, then Cincinnati got the ball and scored. Buffalo came back to tie. Now Cincinnati is ahead by 7. Curtis Brown at the 4-yard line. 10. He's stopped and a flag goes down. It looks as if it'll be against Buffalo, and that'll put the Bills deep in their own end. The legal use.
Tackle by Mike Miller. There's a
Merlin now with the 2 starting backs out, Leaks and Krebs. You know Chuck Knox and his thinking. You think he'll change his strategy or try to do the same things only with substitute people?
I think he's going to change a little bit. The strength of his running game is gone. Hooks has done a good job of replacing Krebs, but I don't think that Curtis Brown can replace their other big back in there, certainly not on the blocking part of it anyway, with Leaks out too.
The Bills are penalized.
Mike's cutting out of here, maybe being overwhelmed by the noise of this crowd, but I think Knox is going to have to depend more on the passing game. Very difficult to do that when you're pinned back in your own end zone or near your own end zone. I expect him to be conservative here. He has to almost rely on his defense.
And he's got a lot of time, 10 minutes and 28 seconds. Out to about the 17-yard line. Gain of a couple. Browner and Edwards made the tackle for Cincinnati.
Dick, I think you'll see Knox try and get a little room here. I think he'll be conservative on this series. He doesn't want to get a turnover down there. If he can get the ball out to about the 30-yard line, then I think you'd see him open up.
That's Lewis to the left. Butler to the right. Hooks and Brown for the injured. Cribbs and Leaks from his 2-yard line. And there goes a flag, although I don't think Butler would have caught that one if he'd have had a step ladder with him, but there was a bump.
Bengal defenders extremely angry at that call, obviously well overthrown. Everyone's in there talking now. Jerry Butler in there saying, yes, he knocked me down. I have to let the officials sort it out for us.
Uh-oh, Chuck Knox reacting. He says that's twice now. But he no reason to be angry there. He did get the penalty. Pass interference against the Bengals. Now Buffalo has a little better field position. Merlin, 26-yard line.
Knox surprising me a little bit with that call, but maybe he feels that the only chance he has is to go to the air. Watch yourself. Butler gets himself into position, and no question about it, takes a shot.
But you can see Butler already had given up. He knew he couldn't catch the ball. He started to go up and said, I can't jump that high, and that's why the Bengals were unhappy. They didn't feel it was a catchable ball. Threading his way out to the 30-yard line goes Roland Hooks before Browner. And number 57 also into the play, Reggie Williams.
You see Buster Barnett taking a play from Kay Stevenson there on the sideline. Ray Prohaska, offensive line coach of these Bills, done a fine job of getting his troops ready for this game. They've had a lot of injuries during this season. The Bill offensive lines played well today. Both offensive lines have played well today.
Well, a key member of that offensive line, Reggie McKenzie, of course, out for the year when he was hurt in the Miami game. Cribbs, a spectator, 2nd and 6. Ferguson to Bramer, the tight end. He's wrestled down at the 35-yard line by Reggie Williams, product of Dartmouth. And that'll be just shy of a first down. Bring up 3rd down and about 1.
Ferguson has rediscovered his tight end. Threw to him very little in the final few games of the season. Got to him a few times last week and has finally gone to him again here. Awfully close to a first down. Big play for both teams.
Now here's where they're going to miss Roosevelt Leaks. 8 minutes and 20 seconds left in the game. Cincinnati 28, Buffalo 21. Hooks didn't make it. Jim LeClaire. And the punting team comes on for Buffalo.
Big play for the Bengal defense. It appeared that Hooks got turned sideways, and when you're running for short yardage, you've got to stay square to that line of scrimmage. He tried to slip to the outside, got turned. LeClaire able to get him and pull him down.
Greg Cater apparently going to punt. Fuller back at the Cincinnati 25. Does kick it, and it's a good one. Fuller, fair catch at the 24-yard line. 7 minutes, 37 seconds left in the game. Cincinnati has the ball. Cincinnati has the home crowd support, and the Bengals have the lead. Bengal fever, 59,000 strong here in Cincinnati's Riverfront Stadium. The Bengals have the ball at their own 25-yard line. They lead 28-21. We're at the midpoint of the 4th quarter. Anderson on the ground. Alexander. Charles Alexander bolts for 7 yards, and he's been one of the big stories today.
Charles Alexander doing what he's done throughout this day. Take the football and show some tremendous explosive running. Gets them very close to the first down. Second, a little over 2 yards to go. The home crowd can begin to feel it. Let's see if they can sustain this drive and eat that clock.
Johnson and Alexander, 2 big running backs. And on 2nd and 3, it's Archie Griffin into the game, and a first down at the 36-yard line. So Griffin gets his first ball. The former 2-time Heisman winner from Ohio State. You see, he didn't run the ball much this year.
The thinking of offensive coordinator Lindy Infante obvious here. He's going to try and keep that football on the ground. He'll throw some high percentage passes in with it to mix them up. But he wants to eat up that clock. They've got an advantage. They want to push it.
From the 36-yard line with 6:15 left in the game. On first down on the ground, Alexander, and he's caught from the side by Isaiah Robertson. Robertson gambled a bit there on the run, slid in from his linebacker position, and stopped the Bengals after a gain of just about 1.5 yards.
Important play, but I'm sure it was observed from the press box, and Bengals may try and take advantage of that kind of gambling. Not time to get desperate here yet. Still got 5:42 and counting down. The defense can stop them and take the ball away from them. Give their team one more chance or a couple more chances. That's what they need now.
28-21 the score. Cincinnati leads it. And Anderson is going to throw. And he's going to throw that one away. Fans want a penalty because there was a little bump. That's more in reaction to what happened earlier.
Same kind of play as we saw on the other sideline. Ball cleanly overthrown. Anderson just dumping it, getting it away. And again, that's part of the maturity of a quarterback, knowing when you don't have a chance, you can get that down away. But it does bring up a 3rd and 9 situation. 6 defensive backs into the game. Isaiah Robertson, the only linebacker to stay in there. Anderson has had all kinds of time to throw here. That's not a good sign for the Buffalo defense.
Both quarterbacks have really been protected well.
They certainly have.
3 wide receivers. Kreider to the near side. On 3rd down, a long 8.
Blitz.
Big play. And it's incomplete. Good defense as Johnson, even had he caught the ball, Cush was right on him, Rod Cush. So the Bengals give up the ball. Clock stopped. 5:19 left for Buffalo to drive toward a tying touchdown.
Tom Catlin and his defense electing to gamble. They knew they had to get some pressure on the quarterback. Went after him with the blitz and got good coverage. Anderson trying to get it short, then get some running to pick up the first down. But Pat McInally, the league's leading punter, is going to kick it away.
Rob Riddick and Lou Pacone are inside the Bills' 20-yard line. Good snap. Fairly short kick, and Riddick has some room to return. 22, 25, 30.
Got a fight going on out
John Simmons
there.
was downfield in a hurry to be in on that tackle for Cincinnati. Just a 39-yard kick for McInally. Timeout. 5:08 left. Back at Riverfront Stadium, the Buffalo Bills trail 28-21, but they have the ball at their 30-yard line. To throw. Got a man, Butler, 45, 47-yard line. Oh, a late hit by Leclerc. Both officials near the play threw the flag, no question about it. So a personal foul, and Butler hasn't gotten up yet.
Not a smart play by the defense. You don't want to give people field position. You don't want to give them a cheap advantage like that. And certainly for Buffalo, you don't want to see your fleetest receiver on the ground, but he is up now.
All the way to the 38-yard line. a solid game defensively. The leading tackler for the Bengals on the year in late on that hit. And it's Buffalo first down. Here it is again.
Not the kind of player you'd expect to come in late, but I'm sure the emotion of this game and the intensity affects a lot of the players on the field.
Pacone is in the game one of the few times today. The little guy is on the near side. This is Roland Hooks. Could not turn upfield. Stopped at the 36-yard line. Give him a yard. Bo Harris from LSU made the tackle.
Great
Alexander,
pursuit.
also a former LSU Tiger, and Harris from LSU, so they feel quite comfortable in those Bengals stripes.
Great pursuit by the defense as they were out there in mass. Hooks not having a chance at all, picked up barely a yard. Knox may have to go to the air. He may have to make the choice to throw the football. I know he'd rather run it, mix it up, but with his two starting backs on the sideline, he may have to go.
Second down and 9. Leaks and Krebs both on the sidelines injured. Good protection. Dumps it off in the flat to Hooks. And he's cut out of bounds close to a first down right at the yardsticks. Well, the San Diego Chargers, after that magnificent overtime victory last night, we may have another injury this time to a Bengal. I'm probably watching this game. They played both Buffalo and Cincinnati during the season, played them both in San Diego, and lost both games. Kind of wonder, Don Coryell's team, which team they might be rooting for in this one.
I don't know that they really care. As happy as they are about their game last night, I think it's going to be difficult for them to get down and really start to think about this next game until after this one is over, and maybe even difficult then. Although it's not hard to get ready for a team that blew you out as badly as the Bengals blew them out early. The Buffalo game, which we also had a chance to do, a very close game out there, Dick, but the first game that we saw, the Bengals against San Diego, a very one-sided game.
Lewis Brayton is okay. We'll be right back after this word. Oh, what must be happening inside? Chuck Knox and Forrest Gregg. Yeah, there's one of the fans, got one wheel in the sand. First down at the 27-yard line. Ray Griffin has replaced Breeden, at least for this play. Ferguson play action. And now in trouble. And completes it to Bramer on the sidelines, and Bramer looks hurt as he's bounced at the 20-yard line. He took quite a shot. Oh, what a physical game.
Boy, it really is. A lot of hitting going on. Ferguson, we talked about the maneuverability and the running ability of Anderson. Ferguson has done a good job today of getting away from the rush. Watch Bramer here find the open territory, and then watch him go up and pull the football down. Let's see how he stays in bounds here. Looked like he was very close to that sideline. Takes the shot from LeClaire, gets the feet down, actually bounced the ball away, but the officials determined he had control of it before it bounced away.
Well, he had that look of agony that we saw on Kellen Winslow's face last night as he took all that punishment in his brilliant performance. Another tight end. From the 20, it's second down and 3. Hooks doesn't get a thing.
Let's ask the question right here. What do you do if you're Chuck Knox? You've got a third and about 4 yards to go. You're probably in 4-down territory, I think, Dick. I don't think you can afford to try the shot at the field goal, not with 3:30 left. He's almost got to go for the touchdown.
Each side has all timeouts left. The clock is running at the 3:20 mark. The Bills have the ball. The Bengals have the lead. 28-21. And the crowd now trying to cheer on the defense.
Shotgun makes it tough to hear those signals out there.
Flag is down, incomplete. There's a penalty flag down.
Reggie Williams, number 57, doing what he's done so well all year, blitzing in there aggressively after the quarterback. But we do have to wait for the officials' call, and it's going to go against Buffalo. Motion.
We'll see if the Bengals take the penalty or force Knox into a 4th and 4.
I've got to believe that they'll refuse the penalty, take the down away from them, force them to go for it on 4th.
The options being explained to the Cincinnati captains.
Offense, decline, 4th down.
Jerry Butler trying to get that quick start.
Timeout for the Buffalo Bills. They're going to talk it over on the sideline.
Here's what happened.
Jerry Butler working on Ray Griffin here, trying to get deep, but Ferguson under pressure simply couldn't get any time to throw the football. Had he had time to see Butler open, might have been a different result to that play. Although the penalty would have wiped it out.
So Joe Ferguson in a huddle with Kay Stevenson to the left, Chuck Knox to the right. 28-21, less than 3 minutes remaining in the game. Breeden is okay. He's back in for Forrest Gregg's Bengals. The Bills spending their first time out of the second half.
And to think about it, you go through a whole season. You fight your way, as both these teams have, to get into the playoffs. Both teams did not look good early in the year. They've fought hard to get here. Boils down to a point where you have 2 minutes and 58 seconds to go in the game. 4th and 4. It's all here, Dick.
Well, you figure that it has to be a pass play, and since they were working out of the shotgun 3rd and 4, that will probably be the alignment. Now, if you're Forrest Gregg, knowing that, is this the time you might send a linebacker or two, put some pressure on Ferguson?
Well, he did on the last play, but you also got to remember that you're working against some pretty smart people. Maybe you mix it up. Maybe you rush 3 thinking they're going to expect the blitz.
Well, there's the voice of the Bengals' 12th man.
Extra wide receiver on the field, Ron Jessic.
4th and 4 from the 21. Open is Pacone, Lou Pacone, and a first down, and a flag goes down. And they're signaling delay of game.
Yeah, it is delay of game. Oh.
Are they going to take that one back?
The clock went off before the ball was snapped.
Oh, my. No first down. They take it away. The noise of the crowd may have been a factor. Takes more time in the huddle because of the noise. Takes more time to set yourself up at the line of scrimmage instead of a first down. On the pass to Pacone is now 4th and 9 at the 26. What a break for Cincinnati.
And what a costly mistake. Chuck Knox, talking about mistakes earlier, said we've got to avoid them, and what a costly one there. Having a timeout, unexcusable on the part of the quarterback, Dick. He had a timeout. He had his full 30 seconds.
Clock is running now at 17, 16, 15. And now Ferguson needs 9 yards. It's 4th and 9 at the 26. They have to get to the 17. Going for it all. Incomplete to Roland Hooks. And the Bengals, with 2:52 left, have the ball. A good call. Hooks was open.
Hooks was open. The ball just a little bit high. Chance for you to see it again. Good pressure on him on this play. He has time to throw it, but there are a lot of bodies up in front of him, and it did have an impact on the way he threw the football, just over the outstretched arms of Roland Hooks.
Although the Bengal fans understandably excited about having the lead late in the game, it might be premature. 2:52 left. No time to fully celebrate. Buffalo can use its timeouts. We'll get the 2-minute timeout, but Buffalo can ill afford a Cincinnati first down. They go with 2 tight ends, Harris and Ross. Pete Johnson, that figured out to about the 29. And should Cincinnati go on to hold the ball and win this game, the one they'll be talking about in Buffalo will be the first down that wasn't because of a rare delay of game. San Diego meets the winner. San Diego lost to both of these teams 28-27 to Buffalo in San Diego and 40-17 to Cincinnati. That'll be next Sunday. We don't know the time yet. That'll depend on the other game today. The Giants are at San Francisco, and they'll announce after that game with the winner where the NFC and AFC teams will play in terms of the time on Sunday. Ken Anderson and Cincinnati certainly have earned their stripes.
They certainly have. Right now, the great concern on the part of the Buffalo team is getting things shut down as quickly as possible. They cannot afford a first down here. They only have 2 timeouts left, having one. They have 1 timeout left. That's right. They've burned 2 in this half already. There they are. 1 timeout left in the game, and that's costly. They needed a couple of extra ones to get things shut down here. But if they can stop the Bengals on 2 successive plays here, they'll still have enough time to have one more shot at it.
That was interesting. Chuck Knox did not make his defensive substitution until Anderson had called the play in the huddle. Then he sent in 2 extra people on 2nd and 7 from the 29. Anderson throws wide open as Ross, and a first down at the 40. Big play, 11 yards to Ross, and the clock is running at 2:30.
When you've got an extra week to prepare, you can put a few wrinkles in. That's what they did there. Fake the screen, pulled everybody outside. Watch it. They're faking the screen here, faking the sweep, and just flipped that little pass right over the center. Ross is all by himself. Actually looked like a sweep fake rather than a screen fake.
Oh, Ken Anderson, the NFL's top passer this year, and certainly has to be a leading, if not the leading candidate for the NFL Player of the Year. He's hit 67% of his throws today. He had over 62% for the year. He had 29 touchdowns this year and only 10 intercepted. Another big game today, and now Chuck Knox has used all of his timeouts. And the crowd has been a factor. You talked about home field. On 2 occasions, Cincinnati took advantage of the slick spots for big completions. And you also talked, Merlin Olsen, about the home crowd advantage. And I have to feel that they were part of that delay of game penalty.
No question about it. Just before that play started, I was looking at Joe Devlin, the right tackle. He stood up and asked the quarterback a question, either about the signal or the call. I'm sure that the noise made it impossible for them to hear the signal.
2:27 left, and now Buffalo has no means of stopping that clock. Pete Johnson, they're trying to go for the fumble, but Johnson, when he wraps those big mitts around it, it just disappears. And now the clock will run down to the 2-minute warning. Johnson's numbers matching his uniform.
A hard way for Buffalo to end their season. They've come so far, winning 5 of their last 6 games, 4 of those games on the road. They've battled hard to get where they are.
There's the 2-minute timeout, and a chance for another celebration for these Bengal fans. They lead it 28-21.
Alcoa presents Fantastic Finishes. 1974. John Madden and Kenny Stabler must come up with a touchdown play to beat Miami. Oakland trails by 5 as Stabler drops back. Nothing looks very promising. Stabler's being chased. He starts to run. He flings the ball forward as he falls. And Clarence Davis makes an unbelievable grab in the end zone for a 28-26 Raider victory.
The Bengals are 2 minutes away from hosting the AFC Championship. They have the ball in the lead. 2 minutes remaining. 2nd and 6 at the 44. What can Buffalo do defensively other than just gamble?
They only have one chance, and that's to try and strip the football. You'll see them trying to tackle the ball. Anderson will probably just go to the ground with it.
No, he's not. Johnson hit by Fred Smirlis. And there is one time that Johnson does not have the advantage in weight. At the 45, a gain of 1, and the clock runs. Now, Buffalo would be well advised to get off the pile as soon as they can, so that the official will mark the ball for the 30-second count.
A little more time. That with 1:39, they've got to do more than just lay on the football, which is what Anderson is doing there. And he's giving it to that back that's big enough, strong enough to protect it, too.
I think we've had enough scoring in the 2 NBC playoff games last night. 79 points, 49 today, 128 points in the 2 playoff games. Right down to 2 seconds on the clock, and Anderson.
Look at this.
How about that? And he wisely goes down at the 45, and that'll bring up 4th down, 109 left. And because of the sack, that stops the clock. So they won't get any extra seconds off the 30-second mark. Now they mark at 30.
And Buffalo is going to have one more chance. Clock ticking. They're going to have to kick it away. They'll probably hang on and let the clock run all the way down to the 32nd, maybe even let it run out.
All right, if you're Knox, do you go after the punt here?
I think you have to. I don't think you have any choice.
He's going to have 10 men on the line of scrimmage with only Riddick back.
Now, wait a second, Dick. If I were in the shoes of Forrest Gregg, I might want to take a safety here and kick it away. It's a possibility. Snap it to McAnally, let him run back and get in the end zone. Let's see what they decide to do. They're going to have time to think about it.
Your thinking being there that a free kick, you can't block that one.
Can't block that one.
But you do give up with the 2 points. If Buffalo gets a touchdown, you give up the tie advantage.
Well, they would only have a few sequends to operate, though. Yeah, they have no timeouts.
Well, McAnally would have to be careful. He'd have to run fast to get in his end zone.
That might be a race.
It's 4th down and 6 with 36 seconds left. They've taken make it 4th and 11 now with a 5-yard penalty of delay of game.
McAnally a full 15 yards deep. I think he's going to kick it away, Dick.
The Bills ready to tee off. Here they come. He's going to kick it away. And a good kick, his best kick of the day. Look at this. On the 1-yard line.
No. They say that they brushed it up against the goal line.
Yes, they do. They're going to take it out to the 20. So that's a break for Buffalo. It appeared he downed it right on the 1-foot line.
I think the second man that touched it pushed it in. Let's get a chance to look at it. Brilliant play by McAnally, kicking the ball perfectly. The first man down stopped the ball right there. Stopped it before it got into the end zone.
John Simmons.
Simmons stops it, but watch. Well, we didn't get to see the second man down. I think pushed it to where it touched the line.
McAnally, nevertheless, happy with the results.
I don't blame him. 80 yards, no timeouts, 24 seconds on the clock.
Bengals, of course, loosen their back line. Ferguson. He may have crossed the line. Incomplete to Butler. Wouldn't have been any advantage, or Bramer rather. Had that pass been caught, it would have been a negative play. He didn't want him to catch that. He had one man deep, Ron Jesse.
So very hard to cover that turf. That great stretch of green between Buffalo and the opposite end zone. Watch the play now. Watch the second man come in and touch the football. There, the hand. It was the hand on the goal line that they saw. Right call by the
There it is, right there. Hand on the ball, hand on the goal line. Good camera work. Boy, what a great job you've done downstairs in the truck. Ferguson to Bramer, incomplete. 11 seconds left. Well, there was one team that pulled off the miracle touchdown this year, and it was this club, Buffalo, that wouldn't be here today if not for the fact that they got the victory against New England with literally no time left and about a 35-yard Hail Mary pass that was batted around the end zone for a touchdown.
I don't think that Ferguson can throw it far enough to get it in the end zone here. He's got a strong arm. Everyone back for the Bengals. They'll rush 3. They just got to keep those receivers in front of them, not let them get the deep shot.
10 seconds, 9, 8. Incomplete at the 41-yard line, 2 seconds left. So the final play coming up. And apparently we are going to see a Cincinnati-San Diego rematch. Kenny Anderson against Dan Fouts. What a circus that'll be.
The most productive offense in the NFL against the second most productive offense in the NFL.
And while the cheers here in Riverfront are for the Cincinnati Bengals, back in Buffalo, there should be plenty of celebration too. These Bills have played gallantly, and but for a delay of game penalty, we might be going into overtime.
Just going to ask that question. What could have happened had that delay penalty not have been called? 1st and 10 down deep. They might have had that touchdown and put it into overtime, Dick.
No seconds on the clock. And the game is over. The Bengals go to the championship game. They have won their first playoff game and now have also earned the right to host the AFC Championship game. It'll be San Diego here in Cincinnati, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. The Bengals 1 game away from the Super Bowl.